He has said before he wants to play with his brothers. That would be partly out of our control. In our control, if we brought his brothers here. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. So there's some like low-key borderline tampering going on here, I gotta say. And Rick Dollywall, so that was my opinion. And then Rick Dollywall comes out and goes, I have been told the NHL is not looking at any tampering charges against the Canucks regarding Jim Rutherford's comments yesterday about the Hughes brothers in New Jersey. I guess the only devil's advocate argument I could put there is like, he didn't really say we would love for them to come to like I don't think he just like, here's the thing. He didn't really talk about the names. Like he didn't say Jack and Luke, we want to try to bring them here, blah, blah, blah. Like he didn't like put any intent behind it. He basically said the hypothetical is like, hey, we might lose this player and he's going to go in one direction or the other. To me, that's kind of just being honest. I will say it is very borderline tampering because you're still talking about another team's players and the possibility of you taking them while they're under a contract. I mean, it's like I said, it's a bit of that borderline situation because Luke Hughes and Jack Hughes, once they're out of contract, then maybe they can go to Vancouver. That's, in my opinion, never going to happen. But again, there's like very gray areas here in terms of tampering and what's not and what is. But there, yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of memes. And then this was the other one for Jim Rutherford from TSN. Says it may not boil down to money for him. He stated before he wants to live with his brother. So there's just a lot of like iterations to his quote. And that's kind of what it's come down to. So I want to play a little game before we get into the playoff action here. I know I'm kind of going backwards here. Usually what I would do on these streams, guys, is I would go into like the latest games, obviously playoffs are the hot topic. So I'm kind of burying the lead, but at the same time, I've been sitting on this stuff for like 48 hours. So I feel like I want to talk about it. So let's go through some potential trades on what it could look like for the New Jersey Devils to bring Quinn Hughes to the New Jersey Devils. That's crazy to say, but after those comments, clearly Vancouver's considering all options. And I'll also say this. With the New Jersey Devils, if they do get eliminated here, they're very much looking to the offseason. And one player that I could see getting flipped is Timo Meier. So with everything that's happened with the Jim Rutherford comments and talking about Quinn Hughes either being in Vancouver or New Jersey at some point here, and I understand they're probably going to try to pay him as much as they can, whether it's $14 million a year, $15 million a year, maybe $16 million a year. I don't know. They might go crazy. But like I said, I do think there is a scenario where the conversation happens and New Jersey's got to be all over it if I'm them. Like, there are young defensemen on that team that could get flipped. Like, if I'm Vancouver, I'm looking at Simone Nemec. For sure. Why wouldn't you? Again, it would be a lot more than that. But there's pieces on New Jersey that I'm sure Vancouver would look at, whether it's Dawson Mercer or Timo Meier. Like I said, Timo Meier has not looked good, and that contract's looking a little questionable. So I'm curious. I do want to also say that I think if I'm Quinn Hughes, I got to be careful here, right? Because while it'd be really cool for the brothers to play together, you're also risking a bit of a legacy conversation here. And at the same time, you're the guy in Vancouver. You are the guy in Vancouver. I really think you could try to figure it out. My problem is there's just been so much drama, and Quinn was at the forefront of it. Like the Jack or the JT Miller and the Elias Pettersson. Like, of course he wants to go play with his brothers, Jack and Luke. Like, it would be 11 over there versus whatever he's had to deal with. But let's look at one mock trade online from a fan, and I'll make my adjustments here. So this is one from a fan on Puckpedia. He's got Paul Cotter, Nico Dawes, Yegorov, Silyev. So Silyev's the defenseman they just drafted, 6'7", I believe. He's a monster. So they drafted him, I believe, top 10, top 11, then a first, second, third. Already, I'm going to say it's got to be more than that, right? Like, there's no debate about it. I understand Quinn Hughes is going to need a new contract, but it's got to be more than that. let's look at mock trade number 2. Again, this is not from me. This is from fans online. But let's look at mock trade number 2. And this time, this is the flip side. This is actually Jack and Luke going to Vancouver again. I think that's the less likely outcome. But Carey Mackey, Willander, Elias Pettersson, 2 firsts and a second. Value-wise, this is actually not even that bad. I will say, though, Elias Pettersson, he's been so underwhelming, so I just can't see this going down. But in terms of value, Carey Mackey is going to be a legit elite top 6 forward in my eyes. Willander is going to be an elite top 4 defenseman in my eyes. And Elias Pettersson can be a 1C in the right situation. Then the Canucks also give up 2 first-round picks and a second. I don't think the Devils do it. But here's what I'll say. If they know something behind the scenes about Jack Hughes' health issues or injury issues, I don't know if there's much to be said there, to be honest. This seems like it should be a one-off in the surgery and he gets back and all that good stuff. So he should be back healthy next year. But what I'm getting at is, if there's some information we don't know, that would be the only long shot scenario where I could go, okay, New Jersey maybe knows something. And if they can get 2 firsts or even 3 firsts plus Pettersson, Willander, and Carey Mackey, value-wise, I mean, Devils fans, I feel like you can't just be dismissing that. Because at the end of the day, if there was something to be said about Jack Hughes' injury concerns, that would be the only caveat there. Literally, if Jack Hughes is fully healthy next season, or that's what they expect him to be, and Luke Hughes to me is going to be a top pair defenseman, I don't think you can make this trade, obviously. But value-wise, it's not out of the realm of possibility for that conversation at least to happen. Like I said, New Jersey's not doing it. But I do say that a lot of fans, and I don't know if this is a Canucks fan, probably is, they wouldn't give up this kind of value in every day. So I respect the fact that they're at least understanding that, okay, their most intriguing young forward, their most intriguing young defenseman, plus their number 1 center, plus multiple first round picks. At least they understand that it would take a lot to get Jack, let alone both of the Hughes brothers from New Jersey. Like I said, I think it would be more. I think you'd have to include more in there, but that's the conversation. And let's show one more, and then I will do mine. And again, I think my scenario is that it's a lot more likely that it would be Quinn to New Jersey, and I have a bit of a trade scenario in my head. So last one, and I think this one also is really crazy, but it's kind of the value that I think would need to happen, in my opinion. New Jersey Devils fans, would you do this? This is the massive question. You get Quinn Hughes locked up. You get the Hughes brothers locked up. The Canucks in the process get Nico Hischier to join a 1-2 punch with Elias Pettersson. The Canucks also get Simone Nemec, who's been disgruntled at times. And on the left side, to create a good shutdown pair, you get Siegenthaler and Quinn Hughes. So your upcoming top offensive defenseman, again, can Simone Nemec get to that point? Maybe. And then you also keep Willander. So Willander and Nemec, along with Siegenthaler and Hronek in that top 4, it's not bad. Obviously, it's a massive loss with Quinn Hughes, but you're bringing in Nico Hischier and a couple first-round picks. Honestly, like I said, Nico Hischier, captain, leader of that team, just a lot to do with the Devils' success, of course. But you'd be getting one of the top 2 defensemen in the league if you're New Jersey. So, and it immediately could be a Hughes brother pair, which is crazy. And then the second pair, you make your decision on who's partnering with Hamilton. But you also have Pesce there. So maybe you could do Quinn Hughes with Hamilton and then Luke Hughes with Pesce. It could be something like that. But again, this is very hypothetical. It might be unrealistic, but I'm just saying that it is got to be something a little bit more aggressive for me from New Jersey. It could be on the other side of 3 first-round picks, and then Meyer and I don't know. It's hard to say. I think the Devils would probably try to dump Meyer because the Canucks maybe would see value in Meyer. Meyer still can be a good production type guy. I would have to look at his stats, but I know his contract, people are already risking it, $8 million per year. He only put up 53 points in 80 games, 26 goals, and he's got 0 points so far. So it's not a great contract. But let me put together my mock trade quick that doesn't involve one of the stars on New Jersey. So, like I said, I think for the Canucks to really commit to that trade, it'd have to be Nico Hischier. But at the same time, if it's out of their control and it's like a Matthew Tkachuk in Calgary situation, if they are confident they're going to lose Quinn Hughes for nothing, then that's the scenario where I go, okay, they've got to do something here and get value back. So let's do that. So if I'm the Vancouver Canucks, what can I do to create the best possible return for Quinn Hughes if it gets to that point? I will put it in the New Jersey Devils perspective just so I can show the Devils lineup of what it could be. But then we can also kind of just speculate on the Canucks lineup, what it would be as well. So let's share my screen here. So New Jersey Devils, let's make a trade. So the one also hypothetical on this is Bratt too. And again, you could also go massive with the trade. Imagine it's like sending Pettersson and Quinn Hughes to New Jersey. That would go crazy. But Bratt would be also the other consideration here. I'm going to avoid trading the Devils stars here for a hot second and see if there's a way this trade can be done. So I think there's got to be some decent names in here. And when I mean decent names, like again, we'll do Timo Meier for the argument of the cap. Simone Nemec probably he's got to be in there. And then in terms of younger players and intriguing prospects, probably would go with Siliev. Like I said, that's a 6'7" intriguing prospect. And then I was going to go one more, but I'm trying to think, is there anyone else that's like intriguing for Vancouver? Maybe, maybe not. Well, let's just leave it at that for a second. Let's go back to the roster. I think the only one that could also make some sense here, I think I added Dawson Mercer. So let's look at the trade right now. Sorry, it's Meier, Nemec, and Mercer. Sorry, I haven't added Mercer. And then honestly, I think it would be as much as like 2 seconds, a first, and a first. Like 3 firsts. Again, that's a lot of draft selections, but it at least would allow Vancouver to rebuild. And then Vancouver could even maybe dump a couple like contracts that they want to get rid of here. Not that they have like brutal contracts, but they could if they wanted. Like the Dakota Joshua contract, he didn't have a great year, 14 points in 57 games. Maybe they send him the other way here, open up some cap space. Höglander had a decent year, 25 points in 72 games, but $3 million. So again, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish with him as well, because I didn't like that contract from the get-go, but it is what it is. So for now, as I have it, it's Quinn Hughes and Dakota Joshua to the New Jersey Devils, and the Canucks get Timo Meier, Simone Nemec, Dawson Mercer, 2 seconds and 3 firsts. Again, without trading one of your star players, that's a lot of value to give up. Again, it is Quinn Hughes, so I still don't think Vancouver does a trade like that unless they feel like they're going to lose him for nothing. So in this scenario, it's something like this, and you got to sign a lot of guys. So to take Jack Hughes, again, this is going into next season. So you got Kovacevic probably on the third pair, Brett Pesce, Quinn Hughes with Dougie Hamilton. Then you got Siegenthaler again. Maybe Siegenthaler should have been in that trade as well. Maybe should have. But say Siegenthaler's there. Maybe Pesce with Hughes. And then, yeah, Brendan Dillon's also there. Like, you got a lot of defense options, and then you got to sign Luke Hughes long term. So there's a lot of, like, there's a lot of layers to this, but say you sign Luke Hughes long-term, $8 million, 8x8, slightly under what Chychrun signed for. You get Luke Hughes long-term. The brothers get to play together for a long time, right? Quinn Hughes had more production. He got like 7.9 or 7.8 long-term at the time. So Luke Hughes is in there. The cap picture's already looking tight. It's $6 million. So McDermott probably you send down. Seamus Casey you send down for more development. Nico Dawes is your backup goalie. And again, you're going to probably have to call up some guys. Like just for the argument's sake for now, let's just say Shane Bowers gets a fourth line spot. Let's say Jonathan Gruden gets a fourth line spot. Again, this is not actually what it's going to be, but just pretend that these are placeholders. LeChance could be an interesting piece. And then to look at the RFAs for New Jersey. So nothing crazy in terms of production. You could probably sign Cody Glass for cheap. Bridge type of deal or short-term type of deal. Maybe you just give him 1.5 for a year. See how he does. And then UFAs for New Jersey. Bastian could be re-signed, but I don't know about that. I don't think they're going to re-sign Dumoulin. Lazar, doubtful. He didn't put up good numbers at all. The only one that maybe you sign for, again, a short-term deal, like minimum, would be Tatar. But honestly, I think you probably let most of your UFAs go if you're the Devils. So outside of that, I think you're ready to rock. So you could probably maybe mix and match here. Again, is the offense great? Definitely not. You have about $4.7 million of cap space. Maybe you go to the UFA market and sign someone, but you can't sign any top players for 4.5. If you go through the list here, maybe you could get like a Kyle Palmieri back. He's a former New Jersey Devil if the Islanders are going through a rebuild. So say you get Palmieri, you can sign him for like a respectable 2.5 for 2 years. I could see something like that. And then maybe you're able to sign like a veteran. Like maybe you get James Van Riemsdyk. I could see him re-signing in Columbus, but maybe you get JVR for $1 million. So for argument's sake, you're under the cap. All's good. JVR is in there. Cody Glass is in there. Palmieri's in there. So again, is it great? No. But your defense is definitely stacked. I mean, that's probably the best defense group in the league. The fact that Dylan or Kovacevic could be scratched. Like that Kovacevic contract, I still can't believe they signed that. $4 million for 5 years. Like that was just dumb. Because if anything like this is a possibility to get Quinn Hughes, Kovacevic could have been, hey, get him out of the picture, and you could have had something like this. And Dylan with you, that's one of the best. Like I said, I think it could be the best defense core in the league. So again, you're under the cap, you're good, and the lineup sits like that. For Vancouver, the forward group would definitely be better, but the defense group would obviously be significantly worse. Maybe they include Siegenthaler in that trade. I could see maybe the addition and just sending Siegenthaler. So maybe I just send Siegenthaler as the extra piece in that deal. And then if you look at so basically it's consider it like a massive trade here. The Canucks also get Siegenthaler once they figure out maybe cap issues, and then it could be something like this. Again, that's still a great defense group. That's a spectacular defense group. Quinn Hughes, Brett Pesce, Brennan Dillon, Dougie Hamilton, Luke Hughes, Kovacevic. You can also boost Luke Hughes to play with Hamilton, or you could do this. That's spectacular. Markstrom Dawes. You have your forward group. You're laughing. You also have more cap space. So say you didn't sign Palmieri. I'm just going through Devils scenarios here because they're struggling in the playoffs right now. And I hate doing this prematurely before they're even out. But say you don't do Palmieri. Say you keep JVR. Send him down. And say you want to go for a big fish in free agency. Well, now you can. You have $8 million of cap space. And losing Timo Meier, I think a lot of Devils fans would be okay with that because he's struggled. Like I said, well, $8 million. What could you do with $8 million? Well, you could sign Nikolai Ehlers long-term for $8 million. I do think the Jets are going to offer more, and I think other teams are going to offer more. I wouldn't be surprised if Ehlers gets offers into the $9 to $10 million range. But for argument's sake, say we can fit an Ehlers into the cap for New Jersey, and Ehlers likes the cap picture for the Devils. We'll add him. And honestly, looking at Ehlers' stats, like I don't think he's much more than $9 million. He had 24 goals. He was close to a point per game, closer. He had 63 points in 69 games. He is hurt right now, so he hasn't played in the playoffs, so we'll see what happens. But he also hasn't been a big playoff contributor, and I think that needs to be considered. He only has 4 playoff goals in 37 games, 14 points in 37 games. So that's not great. So maybe New Jersey could get him at a different number because all he knows is the Winnipeg Jets, and maybe he could perform better with the New Jersey Devils. I would also just give a hot take. I'm pretty sure he's from Denmark. Yeah, he is. And Frederik Andersen, we'll see where he lands. That could be a hot take scenario. But just to look at the depth chart, if Ehlers was into the pitcher, there's definitely a lot more skill. You can maybe slide Palat down with Hischier, Dakota Joshua, and then a top line of Ehlers, Jack Hughes, and Bratt would be one of the best in the Eastern Conference, I think. So that's a much better forward group for sure. And like I said, the defense group is one of the, if not the best in the league, and then Markstrom and Dawes.